Welcome to another Zoom Into Books presentation sponsored by Headline Books. Today we are chatting with award-winning Headline Books author Lisa McCombs, who has several books with Headline Books, but today she will be talking about her newest piece, Praise Petals, a Church of Go novel. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm really excited to be here.
Yes, it's so great to have you on. So we're going to hand it over to Lisa. If any of you all have questions throughout the presentation, feel free to type them into the comments section under this video, and we will type the questions to her so she can get to them afterwards. Also, if you miss the first part or you have to leave early, you can watch the replay here on the Zoom Into Books Facebook page or the Headline Books Facebook page. We also upload all of our videos to the Zoom Into Books YouTube channel. So there's lots of opportunities to rewatch or catch segments that you have to miss. So without further ado, go ahead and take it away, Lisa.
Okay, like I said a second ago, it's so good to see everybody. And I'm really excited to be here with my latest book, Praise Petals. A couple years ago, I actually published a book with headlines called Bombs Bursting in Air. And that is the first official book in the Church of Go series. And I'd like to talk about Church of Go before I do anything else. Several years ago, I was sitting in church in Fairmont, West Virginia, Life United Methodist Church, and our pastor started telling a story about when he was in seminar. And I thought it was the cutest story, to the point where I had him write on the back of Praise Petals the story itself so he could share it with everybody. And I'll read that to you real fast. Pastor Larry Buckland, Life Church in Fairmont, West Virginia, says, "There was a Church of God that I had driven past numerous times." This is in the southern part of West Virginia. "But one time there was something different about the sign. The D from G-O-D had fallen down. As I'm driving home, sermon ideas began to run through my mind. Church of Go. Huh. This is exactly what the Big C church should exemplify. Big C meaning not just one singular church or denomination. What she is doing in her going outside the walls and doors of the church. The Church of Go will go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. The Great Commission Jesus gave was not for the church to be a building, but a movement of love, sending us on the go." I love that story. So much so that the Church of Go is featured in both of these books and hopefully many more in the future. I love this series. I love young adult fiction. And one other thing that I really, really love are book series, especially during this time of uncertainty in our world. Young folks really, really need more certainty in their life. And that's why I like book series, especially for young adults. In this world, the familiar aspects of a series are comforting. Kids need to know that you're always going to be there. And that's what I love about series books. The same characters are always going to be there. My books are not read alone, stand alone. They are stand alone, I'm sorry. You don't have to read one to progress through the series. But the beautiful thing is you will recognize names, you will recognize faces, you'll recognize characters and their qualities. And I think that's a wonderful, wonderful way to give a hug to the young reader. Upon retirement from public schools, I taught for 33 years in the state of West Virginia. I taught at 5 different schools in 33 years, and I really, really missed my job because I just love teaching. And one of my biggest regrets, and continues to be, is that I can no longer be a part of my students' lives. So I'm hoping that my book series will help me to continue to be a part of young readers' lives. The Church of Go series originated from a sermon, like I said, from Pastor Larry Buckland, in Fairmont at Life United Methodist Church. But I'm often asked, where do I get my ideas? Where do I get my characters? And it's just a no-brainer to me. I get my characters and I get my ideas from everyday life. And if I can give you any advice in writing, because everybody can write, everybody has a story, but if I can give you any advice in writing, that would be to write what you know. And I know my hometown. The Church of Go books are set in a fictional town called Ellison, but everything in this town is fashioned after my hometown, Monongah, West Virginia. The same schools exist, the same churches exist, the same street signs exist, and the same history exists, because Monongah, West Virginia is most well known for the fact that the biggest mining disaster in the country, I believe, took place in 1907 in Monongah, West Virginia. And that's kind of our claim to fame in a weird, sick kind of way, but it's the truth. So we are on the map for that, but besides a few other things, but that's not part of this. But write what you know. In the Church of Go series, I'm writing what I know. In the first book, Bombs Bursting in Air, this all started with a comment that my teenage son made one morning. He came in the living room and before school started that day, and he said, "You know, Mom, there's this weird phone app called the P app." And I thought he was goofing me, but he was right. There is a phone app that will let you know when it's an okay, appropriate time to leave a movie cinema and go to the restroom or get popcorn, and you won't miss any of the action. And that's what happens in Bombs Bursting in Air. The very first chapter kind of revolves around an app that the main character, America, has on her phone. She's trying to get out of watching yet another war movie with her father. And she thinks this is a good time to use that P app. So she does, and she goes to the restroom, so she has to miss some of the gruesome parts of this war movie with her dad. Bombs Bursting in Air is about a sophomore in high school, America, who suffers from PTSD. I'm not going to give away any of the details, but I'm very proud of this book because it won first place at the West Virginia Writers Conference. It is a first place winner for Reader's Favorite Book Contest, and it was recognized by Mom's Favorite. It is an honorary literary book, and it's just received all kinds of attention, and I'm very, very happy about that. Sure, I want to sell a book, but what I really want to do is share a story. So I'm really glad, really proud of Bombs Bursting in Air, which brings me to book 2, Praise Petals. Praise Petals, I just got in my hands last week, and I'm so excited to have it, because where Bombs Bursting in Air deals with a young girl who suffers from PTSD, Praise Petals deals with 7 young girls, high school girls, who are dealing with individual and very personal issues of their own. There's 7 girls who are really nothing alike, but we've got actually some personality problems here. We've got a bully. We've got a young girl who is jealous of the others. We have a young girl whose parents are no longer alive. The main character, Rose Hicks, has an issue where she has a unibrow. She has an eyebrow that goes across her face. And this is making her very, very nervous about being in the company of other people. She's a quiet individual. So when Pastor Larry asks Rose and 6 other girls, 6 girls who she attends high school with, to be part of what he is calling the Praise Petals. It's a group of girls who sing in the Church of Go. Rose is kind of nervous about that, but she is such a loyal follower of the Church of Go and a loyal fan of Pastor Larry's, that she agrees to do that. Little did she know in the beginning that she would be thrown together with her arch enemy, Godzilla. Lily Jenkins, aka Godzilla, is not a very nice girl. She is not nice at all to Rose and Rose's best friend, Jay Allen. Jay Allen also has an eye situation going on. His eyes are permanently crossed. But when he finds out that there is a surgery that can correct this, his parents whisk him away to Cleveland Clinic, and they're going to have this taken care of, which Rose is very happy about, but she's also very sad that she's going to have to survive her sophomore year in high school without her best friend, Jay Allen. And when she finds out, once again, when she finds out that Godzilla is going to be part of the same singing group that she's going to be involved with, she's very, very concerned whether or not she can maintain her sanity her sophomore year in high school. But Praise Petals, that's the new book. I love this book. I think you will like this book too. On the back of the book, it reads, high school sophomore Rose Hicks tolerates her limited social life as long as her sidekick, Jay Allen, is by her side. But when Jay receives the best news of his life, Rose is forced to survive the rest of the school year at the mercy of school bully Godzilla Jenkins. When she is recruited as a member of an all-girl praise team, Rose realizes that even the most popular girls have problems, and that means girls need love too. I think this will be a very beneficial addition to any school library, to the shelves of any young reader. And I'm real excited to introduce this book to all of you. And hopefully there will be another addition to the Church of Go series when I can get my head wrapped around the conclusion of it. Every book I write addresses issues, whether it's bullying, jealousy, self-image concerns, anxiety, and there's a lot of that right now, uncertainty, dysfunctional family life, inflated expectations, because kids, till I became a mother, I didn't know what we do to our young folks when we throw expectations on them. Some serious stuff. But that my Church of Go series, and that's not the very beginning of my writing series. Several years ago, when I first started writing, I wrote a book called Abby. And the reason I wrote this book was because it was on a dare. I taught 8th grade for the last 10 years of my teaching career. And my 8th graders dared me to write a book. We were doing a journal writing activity. And every Friday, we would share our journals and we would edit one another's work. So one day, young James, one of my favorite students, hi James, said, well, you know, we share with you, you need to share with us. So every Friday, we would share one another's stories. And that evolved into the book, Abby. Abby is a young girl, Abigail Van Buren Masterson, who has attended 7 different schools in 5 years. She's never had a best friend. She's never had the security of knowing that she will attend the same school every day. She doesn't get to go to the same church every day. So she needs that security of knowing what's to come. Abby is written in journal format. I don't know if you can see that. So the chapters are very short, they're very concise, and it's an easy read book. The next year, I had the same group of students, and they dared me to do it again. So I did with Raspberry Beret. It's just a continuation of Abby's story. Abby's in the 7th grade in the first book. Abby's in the 8th grade in Raspberry Beret. And then Abby is in high school in the conclusion, opening Pandora's box. So you can see I've been very, very passionate about the series books because we need that security. Let me read, before we end, let me read a little bit from Praise Petals, since I'm so proud of it. Chapter 1. Snarky. If a word existed to describe Lily Jenkins, snarky would be a top contender. According to Webster, snarky means crotchety, snappish, sarcastic, and irreverent. In other words, Lily. Besides, snarky was fun to say. And since there was nothing fun about Lily, the irony was compelling. If it weren't for her obnoxious attitude and disregard for good manners, Lily Godzilla Jenkins would be beautiful. Platinum blonde hair, crystal blue eyes, flawless complexion. She should be the envy of every girl at Ellison High School and the subject of desire for every male in town. Unfortunately, Lily was mean. Downright out and out mean. Especially to me and my best friend, Jay Allen. And Lily Jenkins was in rare form today. She had jumped in front of me in the lunch line to grab the last chocolate pudding. And then, between the last two classes, Lily accidentally bumped into me, knocking my books all over the hallway floor. Immediately after that, she accidentally locked the classroom door behind her, making me tardy for class. Yes, Lily was acting suspicious. How do I know? Because Lily was sneaky. I quickly jotted down the word sneaky and suspicious on my list. I was on letter S in my daily evaluation of Lily Jenkins. It was a good way to turn a negative into a positive when faced with the predictably unpredictable actions of the Godzilla. When Lily felt disgruntled, part of my letter D collection, I knew a target was on my back. That's how it always was and has been since third grade when Lily's family moved to Ellison. A well-aimed spitball slammed into the area above my eyes. What most individuals refer to as the forehead, unfortunately, was actually my eyebrow. My one big, black, hairy eyebrow. There was no hiding it. Bangs only blended in enough to make the mess even more hairy. The same with eyeglasses. Plucking, trimming, shaving, nothing helped for more than a few minutes. I was a freak, especially for a girl. No doubt about it. I tried to turn my attention to class, the last class on the last day of the week. I actually enjoyed French class and I adored Mademoiselle Buffont, so as always it passed quickly. The dismissal bell rang and all my classmates hurried to escape. Freak, Lily hissed as she passed me. Yes, Lily was definitely snarky and suspicious and sneaky and sadistic, sarcastic and sinister. The spitball wouldn't satisfy her need to torment. Today being Friday, her pain quotient was not filled. There was still the walk home, which wasn't that long, but enough time for Lily to ice her cake of torturous intent. I needed to avoid that if all possible. I took my time gathering class supplies, hoping that Mademoiselle Buffont was in no hurry to escape her duties for the weekend. Mademoiselle always seemed to find time for her students, but Friday might be a different story, especially since today was Valentine's Day. The exotic French-born teacher surely had a love interest waiting for her to a romantic evening, right? When Mademoiselle made no move to hurry me from the room, I took full advantage of this unplanned reprieve. The longer I lingered at school, the lesser the possibility of a Godzilla attack. But the more time spent here also prolonged my much-anticipated Friday visit to my private sanctuary. As a volunteer at the Church of Go, I treasured every Friday afternoon and Saturday morning, tinkering around the church. Pastor Larry probably didn't need my help, but I chose to believe I was actually being helpful. I answered the office phone, organized the pastor's notes, made sure the coffee pot was full, and sometimes even picked around on the sanctuary piano. At the church, I was safe and wanted, maybe even a little needed, and no one looked at my unibrow. At the Church of Go, I was exempt from gossip, from social anguish, and left at peace with Jay Allen, my one true friend. Jay Allen and I were cut from the same cloth. While I suffered the injustices of a weird facial growth, Jay Allen lived in an upside-down world that only he could understand. His eyes were permanently crossed. He stared all day long at the bridge of his nose. I was particularly anxious to see J. Allen today. His absence from school had been planned for a couple of weeks, but I still missed him. Today is the day he would find out about the possibility of corrective surgery. Mademoiselle Rose, when you are ready, let me transport you from here. It is pouring the rain. My teacher's totally random offer should have come as a surprise, but it actually solidified the belief that she had some kind of second sight. She was aware of the Godzilla among us, but elected to guard my integrity by pointedly ignoring the issue with her kind act. I played along with this impromptu offer and gratefully followed Mademoiselle to her sporty, cream-colored Mini Cooper. When we passed a sodden lily, hunkered under an inadequate hoodie, I found an urge to flutter my fingers in her direction. But snarky, suspicious, sadistic, sneaky, sarcastic, sinister Lily Jenkins was paying no attention to her surroundings. Not to me, to the rain, nor to the passing car that covered her head to toe in an icy puddle splash. I did my best to stifle a giggle, feeling slightly guilty when I heard a French apology from the driver's side of the vehicle. J. Allen met me in the church vestibule, bouncing with excitement. He called, Rose, he called, the doctor called. He can do it, he can fix my eyes. J. Allen gulped some air. Next week, we leave for Cleveland Clinic tomorrow. I tried my best to digest the news J. Allen had waited for all of his life. Research had been underway for several years in an experimental brochure to correct situations like Jay's. But he and his family rarely talked about the possibility, not wishing to encourage senseless hope. But the trials were evidently in, and Jay's dream was coming true. Oh, Jay, I struggled with my words. My closest friend just received the best news of his life, and I had no idea what to say. That's great. This calls for a celebration. Want to ditch our Friday ritual and go to my house? Mom can order pizza. Oh, gee, Rose, that sounds nice. But I have to get packed, and I promised Pastor Larry that I would let him know immediately, so as soon as I talk to him, I need to head home. I just wanted you to be the first to know. Well, besides me, of course. Okay, maybe I'll see you tomorrow. I can come over, or we can meet here. Gee, I don't know, Rose. Let's play it by ear, okay? The bouncing was really getting out of control, and I wondered if maybe J. Allen needed to make a dash to the men's room. His excitement was rather contagious, even though the sting of unshed tears threatened to spill out of my eyes. I am so excited. J. Allen grabbed my hands and urging me to join him in his bouncy dance. So we bounced, and we bounced, and we bounced some more. And then he was gone, with promises to keep me updated. And the reality of me being alone. Happy Valentine's Day. And that's where we meet our characters in Praise Petals. The story takes a lot of turns, and once Rose gets to know some of the other Praise Petals, we are introduced to some interesting dialogue between these 7 young girls who are so very different. Not only do I write fiction, young adult fiction, but I also have written a nonfiction book called I Have MS, What's Your Superpower? In 2000, the year 2000, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis 6 months after the birth of my only child. And in I Have MS, What's Your Superpower? I talk to especially newly diagnosed individuals with multiple sclerosis. And one thing that I do for the National MS Society or for MS Warriors is I write a blog, and that is called ladywiththecane.com, www.ladywiththecane.com. And I would really love to hear from some of my readers, whether you have MS or not. I managed to throw a little plug in every now and then about my other writings. right now, I think I've already stated that I'm working on another installment to the Church of Go series, and that book will be called The Day Ted Williams Came to Town. And yeah, it's about baseball, so it's a boy perspective instead of a girl perspective, but that's okay. All of my books, I won't say they're necessarily blatantly religious, but they're clean stories, they're good stories, they have religious messages and messages of faith and hope. So that's kind of the avenue I run with that. If anybody has any questions, if anybody would like to contact me, you can either go to my blog, www.ladywiththecane.com, or you can email me at lisa.annette.mccombs@yahoo.com, or you can find me on Facebook. I'm a Facebook junkie, I will admit that right now. But I thank you for coming to this Zoom session today and talking to me or listening to me as I talk to you. And I hope to see you again sometime.